Good evening, everybody. Delighted to have a chance to chat with you guys a little bit about some of the interesting things, at least I think you'll find them interesting, that I've been working on recently in my multiple roles, I guess. Few words about me, rather a mixed background, I guess. I've worked in blue chip companies like Hewlett-Packard and a number of others, but also in venture capital. I've done a lot of board work as a result of that, and more recently, executive coaching with both Microsoft's European Scale-Up, which is where I met Kevin, whom you heard from earlier, and also Grant Thornton, where I've been doing coaching with larger businesses, owner-managed businesses. So the purpose really this evening is just to give you a little bit of a flavour of the two activities that I'm involved in that may be relevant as far as fintech is concerned. The first is a data analytics consulting business, which I set up 6-7 years ago. We're half a dozen people, and we do a lot of work really about helping businesses understand how to improve their analytics capability. And you can see here some of the companies that we've worked with, and that covers everything from education to helping those businesses deploy a more data-driven culture, to data strategy, and also to implementation. We'll talk a few examples of those in a moment. And this is the kind of stuff that we do. So we focus on the business problem, which quite often is, well, you need competitive advantage, you need agility, you need resilience, and the question is how analytics and AI can actually help with that, and joining those dots. And it's interesting, I think, that quite a few of the more tech-driven consulting businesses, particularly those that are pushing a specific product, are A, not particularly impartial, and B, they don't really do those sort of people-y management consultancy type things that we do, which actually have the higher value. And in any case, where the underlying technologies have a tendency to be swapped out the next year or the next 3 or 4 years, because that's how the technology business works. So it's interesting, actually, that the type of work that we do splits really into two parts. Deploying techniques and technology in large and mid-sized companies, so anything from owner-managed companies up to divisions of quite large companies, mainly, as you can see, financial services and a few others, but also monetizing technology for clients. And this is either where they've developed something which needs to be spun out, and we did a project just like that most recently for Investec Bank, or in certain cases, they may themselves be vendors, and this particular division of Kinetic had quite an interesting software product where their clients were actually asking for visualization analytics, and they didn't really know how they should do that with their existing development team, who of course wanted to do it all themselves, as development teams do. So that's the kind of stuff that we do. And then Zurich Insurance, a 2-year program, would you believe, for future leaders, and we did the first session for that, which was all about helping them understand, whether they're coming from claims or underwriting or whatever in those businesses, how analytics will change their business in the next 5 years, and what they need to know when they're running the show. So this is an example of some of the education stuff we did actually at a private equity company just recently, which is all about sort of joining the dots, as it were, for about 250 investment professionals, so they know how AI and other types of challenges to their existing portfolio companies, new technologies, could disrupt them, and of course the effect on businesses they have yet to invest in. This is quite interesting, and we work with a number of, on the user side, this is quite an interesting new partner that we're working with, using AI for compliance, and specifically for audit companies where they need to be able to automatically detect different wording, different commentary in financial statements for their clients. And having a junior read that can be quite time-consuming. Having an AI-based system to be able to detect that the right statements are there, the right disclosures are there, that they're within the rules, that they refer to the right numbers, the right pages and everything is complete and consistent, is actually quite a big task when you've got a 300 or 400 page financial statement. And so we're working with a Big Four company actually to help them deploy this for their audit business. Just an example of the kind of projects that we work on. Current work, well, I guess I should put at the top of the list Consilience Ventures that you heard from earlier on. So working with Kevin and the team there, and very interesting it is too. Coaching with a blockchain startup, again in the commercial property area. Another one in legal tech, powered by AI, and in online publishing. And then with the analytics company, as I mentioned, the audit compliance, and also another one which is all about reporting in an investment management company, specifically around the environmental and social side of things. So quite varied, really, and it's quite interesting how the coaching side of things intersects quite well with the analytics, because if people don't change their desire to make gut feel decisions, then they can spend as many millions as they like on analytics and it won't change the result. So there's always a behavior angle around these things. So that pretty much covers it, just in terms of how I might be able to help some of your businesses, if that's something that could be useful. The team or leadership team coaching, CEO coaching, board advisory, go-to-market planning, something that I and my colleagues have done a lot of, channel development. Interesting one here, many startups don't think about whether they're actually capturing data which could be used for other people's purposes. Some do, but not all of them. And quite often there can be a kind of byproduct opportunity to monetize data, whether you're a startup or a large company. Actually, we do quite a lot in that area. Defining the right KPIs, OKRs, that kind of stuff. That's a big one, both in growing companies and companies that have already done this. And having a structured way of doing this is an important element. And then the last one, not surprising since I have a background in the VC world, is investment readiness. Making the pitch investor-friendly, helping the presenters get their story right so they're not in the 59th minute in front of the VCs and they're just saying, and let me tell you about just that last feature. And we've all seen that happen, and it's not a pretty sight. And obviously introductions and general coaching. That's kind of it. I hope that gives you a little bit of a flavour. Okay.
Thanks very much, Mike.